Well, welcome everyone. It is now officially start time, my clock says. So I am glad you are here today. I am unmuted. Yes, last session I was muted. My name is Angela Leonhardt, and I am in San Antonio, Texas. I am a K through 5 general music teacher during the day and do some adjunct work with some of our local universities. But the reason I'm probably here today is because I'm the director of children's music at Heights United Methodist. And we have a graded choir program that encompasses three children's choirs. We have a K1 group, a 2-3 group, and a 4-5 group. Our 6 through 12 is directed by our associate director of music. And so those, secondary students, middle school, high school are all together in that. I know that several of you have been with me in a couple of sessions earlier this morning, but we might have some new people. So if you would just take a minute and introduce yourself on the chat. Tell us who you are and where you're from. What do you teach? Are you in a church situation? Are you in a school situation? So this is a unique presentation platform in that I cannot see any of you. So I don't know who's out there. And the only way I can know that you're there is if you put something in the chat. So if you would just introduce yourself, that'll give us some, hey, there's people here. I would love to see that. And then as we're getting started, feel free to use the chat as we're going. If you have questions or if I'm going too fast, if you need me to repeat something, I'm happy to do that. So go ahead and utilize the chat as well. We're going to get started as you are typing in who you are and why you're here. Well, I guess not why you're here. You're here because you want to learn something new and hopefully take it back with you. So we're going to start out with something called Arioso Land. And Arioso Land, if you are familiar with any of the John Feyerabend materials, the conversational solfege materials, Arioso Land is his terminology, and he uses a lot in those programs. And I've kind of stolen that Arioso Land and turned it into what works for me. So I hope that everything you see today, you will steal also. Stealing is encouraged, and you will make it work for you. And so Arioso Land is basically a made-up story that I tell my younger students about a place where everyone sings everything. And they don't know how to use their talking voice. They only use their singing voice. So we use some friends. I brought some friends with me. This is also known as Frank. And Frank loves to sing, and he loves to go to Arioso Land. And he has a partner in singing crime, or maybe not crime. This is Luella, or Lou for short. My students helped me name these a couple years ago. You can find these puppets, and they have other ones too. Music is Elementary, West Music, Music in Motion. You can probably even get them on Amazon. But I just love them because they're cute and they're different. And the one thing I do not like about them is that they have a squeaky toy on the inside. So I had to do a little surgery and remove that because we don't want that. We want our singing voices. So Frank and Lou are going to make up a song in Arioso Land. It's all about using our imagination. So in the chat, if you would type an idea or a theme that you would like Frank to make up a song for today. Because that's what I do with my students. I usually ask them, what should I make up a song about? Could be about, sailing. Sailing. Are you ready for that one, Frank? Okay. I have to challenge myself not to think of an actual sailing song. Okay. Sailing, sailing on the ocean blue. Sailing, sailing on the ocean blue. Not a bad song for made up off the top of my head. Oh, what's another song that Frank could make up a song about? Another theme. Any ideas out there? playing ball. Oh, playing ball. That is a good one. Now, my students, I might ask them specifically, what kind of ball are we playing? Are we playing baseball? Are we playing basketball? I'm going to go with, oh, I see him typing. Chad is the only one I can see. Playing ball at the beach. Oh, okay. There we go. Now we're getting specific. Are you ready for this one? Okay, here we go. Playing volleyball at the beach. Now we're really getting specific, Frank. I hope you have your thinking cap on. Okay, you ready for this one? All right, here we go. Bounce, bounce, bounce the volleyball. Bounce, bounce, bounce the volleyball. Hit it up in the air, up in the air. Over the net at the beach we go. Bounce, bounce, bounce the volleyball. Oh, wow, Frank, that was just an amazing, that was a masterpiece. Good job, Frank. So what is the point behind Arioso? Well, the point is we want students to start feeling comfortable with their singing voice. We want them to hear me sing a lot. Arioso Land allows me to explore different tonalities with my students. It allows for that creative piece, taking student ideas for what we're going to make up songs about, makes them feel involved and engaged in the activity because it is their idea. As we go along throughout the year, we will start with Mrs. Leonhardt or Miss Angela, if I'm at church, singing and being in charge. But then we'll get to a point and I'll say, I wonder if there's anyone else who could make up a song with Frank or make up a song with Lou. And they will get to come up and take the puppet and make up the song. So now we're moving into independent singing and independent practice. Now let's be real, and that a lot of my students come up and they're making up their song and they're still not singing yet. And that's okay, because they're coming up and they're being brave and they're getting in front of their peers. They're getting in front of me. They're putting themselves out there and being vulnerable. So that's an okay thing. Do I eventually want to move them towards that? Absolutely. Some students, when they come up for Arioso Land, if they want to make up a song, it might be a song they already know. I hear a lot in pre-K. I hear a lot of Jesus Loves Me. Great. I can hear, 50 different versions of that. And that, that's great, because again, they're getting up, they're being vulnerable, and they're using their independent singing voice. As we move along throughout the year, again, we want to up the challenge a little bit. And this maybe is more like in first grade or later in the pre-K kindergarten years, is we will start doing echo Arioso. So I will say, hello, boys and girls. They might say, hello, boys and girls. And just doing simple echo things like that. So, we are going to the beach, for it's time for volleyball. And they will echo, we are going to the beach, for it's time for volleyball. So we've got that back and forth going. So we're modeling that good vocal technique that we want, and then they're also getting to model that. So again, I start, and then later as we scaffold, we move them into, well, now it's their turn. They can be the leader. So Arioso Land is a hit with my younger students to get them singing. Something about putting a puppet in their hand makes them a little less fearful than if I just ask them to come up and sing, or if I just ask them to sing right where they are. Some students, when they first come up, they're very enthusiastic, and they get up there and they realize what they're about to do, and you will see them hiding behind me, and here's Frank right here, or Lou right here, and they're back here. Because they're using the puppet as a shield, but they're also using me as a shield. So those shy students. But again, I consider that a win, because they have come up, they have gotten out of their comfort zone to come up and do that with me. So I have an alarm going off, and I'm not sure what that's about. Who knows? I don't know if you could hear that little jingle going on. So Arioso Land, very successful way to get my students experimenting, being a little bit silly. I know that when student teachers, that I've had student teachers come into my classroom. They're fearful of doing Arioso Land at first because they're just making it up on the spot. They don't know what the song's going to be about. And I encourage them just to go with it. The kids really don't care if they make mistakes. Sometimes I change keys in the middle and the kids really don't care because they really don't know, and that's okay. Just, the more you do it, the more confident you're going to get in being able to do that. So Arioso Land is a great starting point. Mr. Indigo and Mr. Marigold. So another activity that I like to do with my younger students is a lot of singing voice is just vocal exploration. So how do I do that vocal exploration in different ways, and constantly looking for different ways for them to explore? So this is a story, another made-up story about Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo. And I made just a short little video since I knew that we would not be, face-to-face with this, so that you could see what was happening. So let's watch that.
Once upon a time, there were two friends, Mr. Indigo and Mr. Marigold. They both lived on the top of a hill, but as you can see, they didn't live on top of the same hill. Mr. Indigo lived right here on top of this hill, and Mr. Marigold lived right here on top of this hill. In between their two houses was yet another hill right here. One day, Mr. Indigo decided he wanted to go visit Mr. Marigold. So he got up and he brushed his teeth and he ate his cereal and he got dressed, and he decided to go out and go over to Mr. Marigold's house. Now, in order to do that, he had to go down one hill. Ooh. Had to go up another. Ooh. Then go down again. Ooh. And finally go up again. Ooh. He knocked on Mr. Marigold's door. Mr. Marigold. Mr. Marigold. But Mr. Marigold didn't answer. Well, he must not be home, Mr. Indigo thought. So he went back home. First down the hill. Ooh. Then up. Ooh. Back down. Ooh, and finally back home. Ooh, and went into his house. Well, the next day, Mr. Marigold thought how nice it would be to go and visit his friend, Mr. Indigo. So he got up, he ate his breakfast, and he got dressed. And he had to go down and up the hills again. Take a listen to what it sounds like. Ooh. Ding dong. Mr. Indigo. Ding dong. Well, I guess he must not be home. So Mr. Marigold decided to go back home. And he went back into his house. Well, the very next day, Mr. Indigo and Mr. Marigold both decided they would go visit each other. So they went down the hill. Ooh, ooh. Then they had to go up the hill. Ooh, ooh. And they met right in the middle. Why, hello, Mr. Indigo. How are you? Hello, Mr. Marigold. I'm very good, thank you. I came to see you the other day, but you weren't home. Well, that's funny. I came to see you the other day, and you weren't home. Oh, well, what did you want to talk about? I thought I was going to have a barbecue. I wondered if you would like to come visit. I'd love to have a barbecue. What can I bring? How about you bring some chips and some Coke? Great. Sounds lovely. Well, I'll see you then. Great. I'll see you then. And both of them decided to go back home. First down the hill. Ooh, ooh. Then back up. Ooh, ooh. Back into their houses.
All right, so the story of Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo. So I was doing this on a screen for you. You wouldn't have to do that. This could be Mr. Marigold, Mr. Indigo, right? They go inside their house and back up, right? When they come out of their houses, they go, ooh, and they can talk to each other. So then every student has their own Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo as they are traveling. So this is an introduction activity to get us just moving our voices in different ways. You can go and visit more than one time. You can meet in the middle. You cannot meet in the middle. You can really make this whatever you would like to be. And it's amazing how the students, the younger students, we're talking pre-K kinder here, they just first grade, beginning of the year, they will just, oh, let's do the Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo story again. They love acting it out with their fingers. So where do we go from here? Well, there's a couple things that you can do to keep this story going. Whoops, I don't want to do that. I've already listened to the story. There we go. So if you have visuals and you have a digital situation, you could do this in a digital situation. So Mr. Marigold is going to go visit Mr. Indigo, and he goes, ooh. So we can follow that, or we can go the opposite direction. Ooh, let's say that Mr. Indigo is going to go visit Mr. Marigold. Is he starting high or is he starting low? Already visually, we're starting to get our kids prepped for if it's on the staff, if it's higher up here, if it's lower down here, what is that going to sound like? So it's pretty high. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right, go back the opposite way. Doesn't want to go to the next screen. Oh, what if their road sounded like this? Ooh. So it's just staying the same. Again, we're visually prepping them for, ooh, what happens if a note is on the same space or the same line? It's going to sound the same. Here's another one. Ooh. And, ooh, what happens if there's space in between? Ooh. 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 And then offering children the opportunity to create their own pathway. What would it sound like? What's a different? Where else can Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo go? This might be another day I bring this back. Can we read this vocal map? Ooh, they're climbing a mountain. Maybe you make up a new story about how they're climbing a mountain. Maybe they're going to space. Ooh. And what if they're on a roller coaster ride? Ooh. So you get the idea where we are just using our voice in different ways. I wouldn't even have to do these all in one day. Oh, they're down in the ocean. What would that sound like? What would that look like? What would playing with this within my classroom, maybe this is just part of my warm-up at the beginning. You don't have a digital system, you could do a printout and just hold that up. And I have a printout. Oh, let's see, where are we going today? Can we follow this? And we follow that. What if I turned it this way? What if I turned it upside down? What would that look like? How would that sound? What if we went backwards? Could we do it backwards? Boom, you're done. And you put that away for your warm-up for the day. You wouldn't have all of those different places to travel. Those are just different ideas. Where else could Mr. Marigold or Mr. Indigo travel? You could brainstorm with your students. Maybe they went to a basketball game. What would that look like with the bouncing basketball? So just giving those students the opportunity to practice using those highs and lows in their voice, the more they can do that, the better we are preparing them for, hey, I want you to use your singing voice, not just your talking voice, and what that looks like. Another thing that I've done with my students is yarn strings and Matchbox cars. This is especially a hit with the boys. So if you've got someone in your congregation or in your campus, then you can just ask for donations. Hey, does anybody have some Matchbox? Those Matchbox, those little cars that they don't need anymore, and you will be amazed at how many you get. So in a Ziploc, you have two, one for Mr. Marigold, one for Mr. Indigo, and you have a big long piece of yarn, and they get to manipulate that yarn and then take their car and drive it on the road because they're going to visit. This is a great activity with partner work, and love to hear them making up stories as we break into partners to do this, because you walk around and you hear them. Hey, do you want to go play basketball? Hey, do you want to go to the beach? Hey, let's go to a movie. So they have those conversations just like I did when I was telling my story, which is always kind of fun and interesting to read. What happens if we combine two long pieces of string? So your group and your group get together. Oh, it's even a longer road, and you've got those ups and downs going. So this can be a whole group activity. It can be a partner activity. It could be an individual activity. Maybe it's not even something that they're doing with a partner. They're just practicing by themselves. But the kinesthetic experience, moving that string of drawing that line, of moving that car, helps them know, okay, I need my voice to go up, I need my voice to go down, I need my voice to stay the same. So Mr. Marigold and Mr. Indigo. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and pop them into the chat. We're going to continue with Brown Bear, Brown Bear. What do you see? Now, you are probably familiar with this story. This is one of those standard pre-K, kindergarten, one of those go-to books that you will find probably in any bookstore, any used bookstore, Target, school libraries, public libraries. Bill Martin is the author and Eric Carle is the illustrator. So wonderful illustrations there with Eric Carle. So let's take a listen really quick. This is just one version of this that we could.
Brown bear, what do you see? I see a red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse, what do you see? I see a green frog looking at me. Green frog, what do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. Purple cat, what do you see? I see a white dog looking at me. White dog, what do you see? I see a black sheep looking at me. Black sheep, what do you see? I see a goldfish looking at me. Goldfish, what do you see? I see a teacher looking at me. Teacher, what do you see? I see children looking at me. Children, what do you see? I see a brown bear, a red bird, a yellow duck, a blue horse, a green frog, a purple cat, a white dog, a black sheep, a goldfish, and a teacher looking at me. Woo!
So you get the idea there. That's pretty much the whole entire book. It just repeats it in this short little video. Now, when I'm doing this with my students, I'm usually not playing a YouTube video. I'm actually reading the story to them. But I thought today, so that you could see the pictures better, it would be easier for us to have that visual. So what could I do with this? What can I do with this song? Well, again, if you have puppets or Beanie Babies or it always wants me to do that again, or anything like that, or even just paper cutouts. You could have these, and I make up my own song, although that YouTube video had a real jazzy version, upbeat, but my song's a little simpler. It goes like this. Brown bear, what do you see? So using the Somi and La solfege syllables, which are very, that call and response kind of thing that's very comfortable for children to sing. I see a blue horse looking at me. Then we would ask the blue horse, blue horse, what do you see? And what does the blue horse see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? So in this activity, I usually have my students sitting or standing in a circle. Usually it's standing, and here's why. if I can, get them to stand, if they're not running all over and being crazy. It depends on your age level. If you have, really younger students like pre-K, you might want to do this sitting down. But I like them standing because I have collected a whole bunch of finger puppets over the years. I have a big basket of them. Everybody gets to get a finger puppet out, and they'll put the little bird on their finger or the little sheep on their finger. And I go first and ask one of the animals in the circle what they see. And then that student gets to sing all by themselves and tell me what they see. So here's another opportunity for me to see, are they using their singing voice? It's an opportunity for me to hear them sing alone in a safe way. Because they've got this finger puppet on their finger, they're usually, even my super duper shy ones are not going to shut down and do nothing. They're going to say what it is. Now, will they always use their singing voice? No, but again, that's something we're continuing to work on. After they, I say the yellow duck, well, then the yellow duck gets to go. After the yellow duck goes, the yellow duck person has to sit down. This helps us keep track of who's had a turn, and we're not just going to the same animal. We're making sure that everyone gets a chance to sing their solo. Every animal gets a chance to be involved. And what if I don't have a big basket of finger puppets? Not a problem. I didn't for years, and I still survived. So those pictures that you see on your screen are just clip art pictures. You could find those out like on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. You could even do like a half of that, laminate it so it's a little sturdier if you have that availability for lamination. And the same thing, they can hold that sign, and when they have done their part, then they get to sit down. Usually at the end, whoever's the last person, there's no more animals left. So we just sing something like, I see everyone looking at me. So then everyone gets to stand up. We trade animals, and we get to do it all again. So this is something that they would love to do more than one time, because now I have a different animal. Something you can bring back on another day. Usually about 2 times in a lesson is as many as I would do it. And then I will just say, okay, time to put our animals away. Now let's go to another activity. And then we would bring that out for another day. Because again, how cool that I have, a sign or an animal or a Beanie Baby or something that I can attach to do my singing for me. So lovely opportunity to work on independent singing and to hear them sing. Now, what happens if a student is not using their singing voice? I see a green frog looking at me. So in that case, I usually say, ooh, let me see if I sing it like this. I see a green frog looking at me. Can you try to do that? So I'm going to give them a model. Even though I've been modeling a lot and others have been modeled, I'm going to give them a specific model for their animal. And hopefully they can do that. If they can't, I'm like, thank you. And then they sit down and we move on. So that's just a note in my brain that, oh, they're not there yet. I'm not going to keep pounding it. I'm going to come back around and on another day to try to get that. Might do things like, ooh, can you make this? Ooh, you go green frog, and they'll go green frog. Ooh, how about green frog? You make your eyebrows go up, and they'll go green frog. Okay, they're getting closer, right? So part of it is just that teaching this muscle here what it is supposed to do, especially if they're in a home that doesn't do a lot of singing, or if they're in a home where dad is the big singer, and we all know that male voice is in that lower octave, so they're not used to hearing, oh, this is my head voice. This is how I get up here into my head voice. So again, lots of just practice. Okay. Well, let's keep moving here. Any questions? I'm going to check out the chat. Doesn't look like we have any questions. Feel free to pop them in there. So pumpkin soup. Pumpkin soup I'm not going to read this story to you because I just didn't want to read every story. But Pumpkin Soup is a really sweet story about these three animals, the cat, the duck, and the squirrel. And they each have a special job when they make pumpkin soup. And one of their jobs is to stir. One of their jobs is to put the little bit of salt in. Well, the duck one day decides that he wants to put the salt in. He doesn't want that to be the squirrel's job. And they get into an argument and they fight because the duck puts too much salt in. And because he doesn't know how to do the job correctly. And so the duck storms off and he's out of here. The cat and the squirrel are fine with that at first, but then when it comes for soup time, they realize that everyone has a very special job, and without the duck there, the soup is just not the same. So then they go looking for their friend, Mr. Duck, to find him and bring him back so that they can all work together. And at the end of the story, they discover that they can share jobs, that the squirrel can teach the duck how to put in just the right amount of salt. And the cat can teach the squirrel how to stir the soup just the right way. So I love the way this story brings it back to we all have unique gifts and talents that we bring to the table, but we can share those unique gifts and we can teach others how to use our gifts or how they can be a part of that. It doesn't just always have to be about me. It's just a really sweet story. So where are we going with this? Well, we want to work on singing again in a different way and using our imagination. So I have this short little song and it goes like this. Pumpkin soup, what shall I put in my pumpkin soup? So not a very long song. What did you notice about my song? You may have noticed that there are some lines that are the same, right? How many lines are the same? Let's take a listen and see if we can figure that out. Pumpkin soup, what shall I put in my pumpkin soup? How many lines were the same? 3 lines. Yes, 3 lines were the same. Let's see, line number 1, line number 2, and then we had something totally different, and then line number 4 was the same. All right, so let's see if you could be my echo. Pumpkin soup, your turn. My turn. Pumpkin soup. Oh, so that's the line that is always the same, right? So your job is going to be the pumpkin soup. My job is going to be that line that's totally different. So you notice how I'm scaffolding their learning right here. They're not going to be able to read most of them. And I will have these words usually up on the board just because we do have some readers out there and it's good for them to see that print. We can do things like identifying, where is the P on the pumpkin and the soup. We can find those, these words are the same. So I can work almost English language art concepts into my music activity just to support that scaffolding of their learning. But my purpose for putting the words out there is not for them to read them. All right, so you are in charge of the pumpkin soup. I'm in charge of everything else. So here you go. Pumpkin soup, what shall I put in my... Yeah, nicely done. So we might do that a couple of times. Nicely done, and I can't hear a word that you sang, but I know that you're singing it, even if it's just inside your head right now. So we have scaffold, and we'll do that. You've heard my part so many times. I bet you can sing it with me. So then we will sing it all together. Pumpkin soup, what shall I put in my pumpkin soup? What are some things that we might want to put into our pumpkin soup? In our story, they added salt. What else could we add? Maybe we'll add some pumpkins. I think that would be important. So then we will get out. Let's chop up our pumpkins. Ooh, get it all nice. You might even need to squish it down and put it in our bowl. All right, now we have to stir our soup while we're singing this time because that's what makes our soup cook. So just like the cat was the expert stirrer, is that a word? We are going to be the stirrers in our song. So here we go. Pumpkin soup, pumpkin soup. What shall I put in my pumpkin soup? What else could I put into my pumpkin soup? Ooh, I might put milk. So let's open up the milk. Let's pour it in. How much do you want? Just a little or a lot? So these are the kind of questions that we can use to spark our imagination. Again, we're going to sing and stir. We're going to go all the way around the circle or go all the way down all of the rows, however you have your students set up. And everyone gets to add something into the pumpkin soup. Usually in my classroom, I just have a giant empty plastic bowl or metal bowl sitting up at the front or in the middle of our circle. And that person gets to physically come up and pretend that they're putting in the salt, the strawberries, the chicken. I mean, it's amazing what their imaginations can come up with to put into our pumpkin soup. And they get to stir their imaginary stir. Usually for me, that's just a giant mallet or just a little mallet. Whatever I have nearby, that becomes the spoon. Because this is about using our imagination. And then after it's done, we get to eat our soup. We make a really big deal about how delicious it smells. Oh, I can't wait to taste this. We get our bowls out. These are our bowls, just our hands. And then I get to walk around and put some in there and they get to taste it. So an opportunity for us to be singing in a different tonality, an opportunity for us to be using our imagination and putting in different ingredients and to work on that singing voice. Lots of repetition there. Lots of repetition, which is what especially our younger kids need, is that repetition, but in a fun way, rather than just saying, okay, do it again, okay, do it again. All right, so pumpkin soup, great fall activity. When pumpkins start to come out in October, late September, it is a fun thing because they see them at the stores, and so we can bring that into a fall kind of theme. All right, any questions? Checking in. I'm not seeing any. All right. So the next piece we're going to look at is a piece from Growing in Grace. Growing in Grace, you've probably seen them advertising at this conference or at other conferences, a publishing company. And this is from their We Can Sing 2 book. And you see that picture on the screen. And songs for preschool and kindergarten. So wonderful, easy, short songs. And so we're just going to take a quick listen to it and talk about what we can do with that song.
Jesus is born. Jesus is born. Baby in a manger. Jesus is born. Jesus is born. Baby in a manger. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, amen.
All right. So you may not be familiar with that. Gloria a Dios from We Can Sing Too. One of the things that I think is really important to keep in mind with our younger students is that we use a lot of echo activities. There's so many folk songs that are filled with echo call and response kind of thing. I think that helps our students become successful with using their singing voice because they hear the leader, either myself or a recording, and then they get to echo that. So a great way to build and scaffold those skills. And this song is perfect for that. It has the, the echo that's happening throughout. I love the way this one also has the Spanish built into it. Being in South Texas, I have a lot of Hispanic speakers. And so this is another way, in a simple way, for us to use Spanish, to use another language with our kids. So to get them exposed to singing in different languages as we want them to do as they grow older, whether that be Spanish or Latin or German or French, there's so many possibilities, but making them feel safe and comfortable that yes, I can sing in a different language. Very simple call and response there. I loved the body percussion that was happening at the end. You could transfer that to instruments with your students. It is based off a Peruvian folk song. So another opportunity or another pathway is to talk about what are some things that the people in Peru eat. Where is Peru on a map? What other kinds of songs can I find to tie into that other culture? So expanding their world besides just their neighborhood, where they're most likely, those are the people. Those are the only people. So let's expand their net. What are some things that I can pull in from that culture that could be appropriate for those younger students? Things like food, clothing. What are the kind of jobs that they do? Do they have the same kind of jobs? Do they have to go to school like we go to school? Things that you could easily find as a leader to then guide them. If you are fortunate enough to have either missionaries in Peru or you have families with connections, cultural connections, this would be a great opportunity to bring them in to talk about their country, or to correspond if you have a ministry partner there you could pray with. So the students have that connection there. This is a real place that with real people there. Do I have to use all three verses? Absolutely not. I think that, where are your kids and what do they need? If you need to do verse 1, verse 2, verse 1 again, great. If you need to do verse 1 and verse 3, and in the middle there's something different happening that you've created, or there's a soloist, an older student who comes in to sing that, could create sign language or motions to go with that if the singing in Spanish is too difficult for your students. But a lovely piece from that book, which is filled with lots of lovely pieces. If you are familiar with the Growing in Grace curriculum, you know that they provide you with teaching steps, with visuals, and lots of supports there if you have that curriculum, and that's all written out for you. Another opportunity for solo singing for your students as well, because you could not be the leader. You could have the students be the leader, or maybe this half of the choir is the call, the leader, and this half is the response, and then switching those jobs. Can they do both jobs? So another opportunity for great things there. All right, I have one more thing for us that I want us to do, And this is not in your notes. I will add this into your notes. Your Name is a Song. Your Name is a Song is a beautiful new book that I just discovered this past school year. And it talks about a little girl who they have difficulty pronouncing her name. So we're going to look at this story, and then I'm going to show you how you could turn this into an activity for your students and take your individual student names and turn them into songs. So let's watch this.
Your Name is a Song. Written by Jamila Tompkins Bigelow and illustrated by Luisa Uribe. I'm not coming back ever again, the girl stomped. Please don't stomp unless we're stepping in a drill team, Mama said. Was your first day of school so bad? The girl looked down. No one could say my name. No one? Not even your teacher? Mama asked. She tried. It got stuck in her mouth. A street musician swayed and played. Mama closed her eyes until she swayed too. Tell your teacher that your name is a song. The girl wrinkled her brows. I can't say that. Names aren't songs. Sure they are. Take the name Olumide. Olumide is a melody, girl. And so is Kotone. The girl whispered names. Tap to tap went her feet. Mamadou is a beat. Tondo Wetu stretches out like a love song. Yes, girl. Names are songs. Sing your name. Your teacher will learn to sing it too. The girl did a jig as they walked on. But then her feet slowed. Umi, she called to her mama. During snack, some girls pretended to choke on my name. At the red light, a car boomed hip-hop beside them. The bass pounded from their heads to their toes, even in their chests. Pat, pat, pat. Mama patted her chest. Tell those girls some names must be said from here, not the throat. Names come from your heart? The girl asked. Say the name Ha from there. You gotta go deeper to say Alam. As they crossed, the girl touched her chest. Juana is here. Ngozi goes deeper. It pokes me in the stomach. Yes, girl. From your heart, say your name. Those girls will learn to use their hearts too. The girl bopped to the beat as they walked on. In art, one boy's eyes got all wide when I said my name. Is my name scary? Wires sparked above a streetcar, and Mama and the back startled. Mama put a calming hand on the girl's shoulder. Tell that boy some names have fire. You can put fire in a name? Kwaku storms in on a Wednesday, and fire dances in Sagnika, Mama said. Names are that strong? The girl asked. Siomara fights a battle in your mouth. Tongues bow to say Bilkis. Julong lunges like a dragon. And Udam is magnificent. The girl's lips trembled. Yes, girl, just like you. On her toes, the girl rose and kicked as they walked on. What about the kids at recess who said my name sounds made up? Mama pointed up. Tell them that made-up names come from there. From the sky? The girl asked. Made-up names come from dreamers. Their real names were stolen long ago, so they dream up new ones. They make a way out of no way, make names out of no names, pull them from the sky. The girl reached up to pull names too. Tajay and Trayvon, they sit on clouds with Jelante. Mama nodded. Laquan and Lamika are the twinkle in stars, the glimmer in minds that think and tinker. Are these names new songs? The girl asked. Yes, girl. Tell everybody to learn new songs too. The girl twirled and leapt to the sky, and they walked on. The next day, the girl didn't want to go to school, but she had songs to teach. Line up, Ms. Anderson hollered. The girl looked to the sky. She saw dreams and fire there. Ms. Anderson hollered names. Benjamin? Tap to tap went the girl's feet. Here. Siobhan? To tap. Here. Olivia? To tap, to tap. Here. The girl stopped tapping. Her name was getting stuck in Ms. Anderson's mouth again. The girl sang. The whole class stared. What are you doing? Ms. Anderson asked. I'm singing my name so you'll learn it. Names are not songs, Miss Anderson huffed. Ms. Anderson, sang the girl. Miss Anderson frowned. Your name is a pretty song, said the girl. Miss Anderson's frown slowly turned into a smile. Why, thank you. What about me? Bob asked. What's my song? The girl belted out. Bob. Other kids asked for songs too. She sang and sang their names. Ms. Anderson asked, could we hear your song again? The girl sang her name. Cora Jalimuso. The teacher sang it back. One kid sang it, then another, and another. Everyone sang her name. Cora Jalimuso. It was music to her ears. The end.
All right. I know that was a little bit longer, but I just think that is such a beautiful, beautiful story, beautiful illustrations, and beautiful way to remind us how important our children's names are. And as we continue to become a very diverse nation, and as we continue to reach out to our communities to invite them into the church, we want to make sure that we are being mindful that we are saying their names correctly and honoring that. So what a beautiful story to remind us about that and turning it into a song. How perfect for us. So in this story, she was singing their names, which is what our session is about. We could totally do that with our students, and they could make up how they wanted to sing their names. But let's go for a little bit different pathway and veer off a little bit and turn their songs into a different kind of melody. So if you would think about your name and think how many syllables or how many sounds you want it to be. And I say want it to be because it could be different. Bob is one sound, but in our story, you notice how she made it ba, So she was moving into, I'm going to add some things to that. So think about how you would like your name to be. Angela or Angela. 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 I think that's the one I like. Angela. Angela. So what I want to do first is I just want to figure out the rhythm. I'm not worried about writing it down. I'm not worried about the notation. I just want my students to figure out the rhythm of their names. What does it sound like when I clap it? What if I put it right here? Angela. Angela. What if I went Angela, Angela? Well, could you play with that a little bit? Now, if I've got very pre-K or kindergarten, they're probably going to need a lot of support. We might have to go one by one and give them some ideas. But I think you'll be pretty surprised that kids are pretty inventive and creative, and they can figure out how they want to perform their name for us. Once we have done that, I want to take that and I want to transfer that from my body percussion. I want to transfer that to a melody instrument. So some melody instruments that you might have available to you. You might have boom whackers. So boom whackers are relatively inexpensive, something you could do, you could utilize. Now, if I handed out all the boom whackers, it wouldn't sound very good. But if I was very specific and I handed out maybe just the notes that are in the C chord, the C, E, and the G, we could all play at the same time and it would sound good. Or I could do a pentatonic scale. I could go, maybe I'm in C pentatonic, so I could go C, D, E, G, and A. So I'm not going to pass out the Fs or the Bs. That way, when we played our boom whackers, it's still going to sound okay because it's in that same sort of tonality. So Angela, Angela. And then we go to the next person. Bob. Then we go to the next person. Georgia O'Keeffe, Georgia O'Keeffe. So maybe they want their first and last name. So giving them the opportunity to play with that rhythm, to play with their name and how that goes using boom whackers. Maybe you say, okay, now let's trade. Go get a different color. Trade with a partner so that you can have a different color. I'm going to, just so you can hear what it sounds like, I'm going to do my best to do too. Not very good. So in the process, students are playing, this is an octavator cap for those of you who might be asking. It just changes it to the lower octave. So these are add-ons that you can purchase with your boom whackers. And you may already know what that is about. So an opportunity for my students to be exploring rhythms, to be creating and composing at a very, very basic level, but getting that idea of, I think I'm going to change this. I'm going to lengthen it. I'm going to shorten it. And playing with that is an opportunity. You may have hand chimes, or you may have tone bells, or you may even have xylophones available to you in your setting. I'm gonna get a xylophone here. And again, I probably am gonna want to set up in a pentatonic, because then it doesn't matter what notes my students play, it's still going to sound good. So I set up in C pentatonic very quickly here. And I might say, okay, boys and girls, let's all play Bob's name. So we're all gonna play Bob. Do you remember how Bob went? Bob, Bob, Bob. So, right? Ooh, I like that. Let's play Bob's name again, but this time instead of playing two notes at the same time, only play one note. Ooh, that sounds good. So again, we're giving them the opportunity to explore and create. What if I don't have enough instruments for my students? Well, this xylophone right here, I can fit two people on it. I can fit one person down here. I can fit one person up here. Maybe some of us are on the xylophone, some of us are on boom whackers, some of us are on non-pitch percussion rhythm instruments like drums or rhythm sticks. What if I took and did another name? Whose name should we do this time, boys and girls? And I might say, oh, let's do Angela's name. Angela. That's a beautiful name. See how I'm playing with how I play my name, how that rhythm works out. What if I took Bob and Angela and I put them together? What would that sound like? Well, what if we did Bob first, followed by Angela? Okay, Bob, Angela, Angela. Now, you're gonna get this with your kids and it's not gonna sound that beautiful. It's okay. Remember, this is about the experience, this is about the exploring, this is about the creation and letting them try new things out. If you only have one mallet, that's okay too, especially with your younger ones. Could I use the same activity though with my older choir, with my 4th and 5th grade group or my 2nd and 3rd grade? Absolutely. This is one of those activities that I can use in lots of different ways. The difference between my younger students and my older students is that my older students are going to need less hands-on guidance from me. So we might do the same thing that we've been doing with the younger students, but now I'm going to maybe put them in partners or small groups and say, okay, you have 3 people in your group. How are you going to play those 3 names? How are you going to play it? Figure it out. How are you going to put it on your instrument? Some groups will improvise the whole thing. They won't play the same note. Some groups will be very specific and they will say, we want everyone to play the same note at the same time. Ba, ba, ba. Angela, Angela. Ba, ba, ba. And they will get that solidified composition that they want to play. So here's an opportunity for us to make music out of students' names, utilizing what we have. I don't have any melody instruments. I don't have access to boom whackers or xylophones. Non-pitch percussion works as well because your rhythm, it's still music. So putting that on a drum, putting that on a rhythm stick, putting that on wind chimes would be a little challenging because it's hard to get them to do that exact rhythm. But you get the idea. What do you have available to you? Last year with COVID teaching, I know a lot of teachers in both the school and the church setting created music kits using things that this is what this kid has for the whole entire year. They're not sharing it with anyone. Things like a drum for a paper plate. A paper plate for a drum. I said that backwards. Dowel rods for rhythm sticks, or could also be a drumstick on your drum. Pool noodles cut into round scrapers. Egg shakers. Tennis balls that you can cut and fill with either popcorn or BBs and then super glue back together makes a really great shaker. So things like that. It doesn't have to be what we would think of as a traditional instrument. You could use found sounds. What could you use around your classroom or your rehearsal space? What does your chair sound like if you tap on it? What does the wall sound like if you tap on it? Now, I do a lot of stuff like that, and it seems a little weird and crazy if you've never done that. But it gives students the opportunity to explore and experience sound in their environment. What is around me, and what does it sound like, and what different timbres does it have? My students know that they need to be safe, and we don't need to be punching holes in the wall. But it gives them an opportunity to, again, to experience that music is all around them, and they don't have to have a lot of money, to buy fancy equipment. If they don't have that, they can still make music. So Your Name is a Song is a beautiful, beautiful book. So that's all that I have for you today. Originally, our session was only supposed to be an hour, and they stretched it to an hour and 15. So I don't have 15 more minutes, but I'm very happy to answer questions. If you have questions in the chat, or other ideas or suggestions, things you do to get your kids singing and practicing using their vocal skills, and you'd like to share that, we would love to hear that. And I think I will put information up here. Oops. There's the information on the book, Your Name is a Song. And you can just Google that and find that information as well. Growing in Grace, one of the pieces that we used earlier, the Gloria a Dios, is from the We Can Sing collection from Growing in Grace, not Gloria in Grace. They're offering a special during the conference for 15% off of one order with this promo code, end of July. So just wanted to share that with you. If there's something you saw in the session, or you want to go explore their other curriculums, their new curriculum that comes out this fall, well, it's already out. It's called Short Stories and Tall Truths, and it's all using different parables of Jesus throughout the year, the fall and the spring semester. Great curriculum. Why am I putting this out here? Well, because I do write for Growing in Grace, and they asked me to go ahead and put this out here for you all to know that you can take advantage of that sale that is happening. And here's my contact information. If you have any questions after the session, if you want to email me, or I don't remember what you did with this doesn't make sense, please feel free to ask. Send me an email. Happy to hear from you, especially since I didn't get to see your face. Would love to hear from you. My website, Mrs. Leonhardt's Music Room, my notes are also located there. I tell my students my name is Mrs. Leonhardt, and what do I teach? I teach music. Do I teach in a room or outside? In a room. So if you get anywhere close to that Miss Leonhardt's Music Room, you will find my website, and you might find other things that are interesting on there as well. So again, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a great rest of your conference, and I hope to see you face to face one day soon in a session. I'm going to go